Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the legacy that is Trekyards. He's Commander Cuckings.
He's Captain Foley.
And today we're talking about a Star Trek legacy ship, which is probably older. But it's the Akyazi? Akyazi? It's this one.
It's funny, if you ask this, if you show me this as an abstract, I'll say the Akul. That's what my brain goes to, which isn't the case, but it's that ship. I'm thinking probably a lot of you recognise it. This has certainly been one that I've known for all of the time. This one is, of course, from the Legacy, so they brought it into the TMP world. So obviously that is the quality of the model. But yeah, gonna take a look at this classic Waspian design. Fair to say, Stuart, do you recognise this particular version? When from, and what do you think?
I do recognize it. Don't remember when from. I don't recall it specifically in Legacy. But it is a design language that's been around for a while. Bill Krause has done a version of this as well, the WASP version. So yes, it is a unique standout, and it's one that does kind of catch the eye as far as a Star Trek fan goes, because it's very similar, yet very different. So,
yeah, it's nice to see a good idea once had, then filters through a bit, and this is obviously of a kind, but it's the own unique thing. And of course, it had to be in the games, it had to be a certain level of quality. Yeah, and it's definitely not a kit bash for the TMP era. That's rather nice. New nacelles, new bridge module, something or other. It's kind of rare that happens, really. And it's quite nice. It doesn't necessarily need the stinger, which we'll see in more detail soon. But what vibes is it giving off, do you think? Because I've got a couple of thoughts straight out of the gate.
Like, ship class-wise, I believe it's probably like a scout or a corvette, something, a fast patrol thing. It's very small in its design, as you can tell. So,
yeah. The word that comes to mind for me is flimsy.
Okay.
Because if you look at how thin relative those pylons are, they feel underhulled. Certainly the nacelles having cutouts make me feel a bit flimsy, and having the saucer be one deck with not much else. It's not something I'd trust to be in a battle or even a long mission. Now, like I say, scout or whatever, but it feels a certain flimsiness, which also means more cost effective to create, resource wise.
It also seems like a lot of choices just for aesthetics' sakes, like to make it stand out and be different. Like that cutout in the front of the saucer. Is that really necessary? Just have it rounded, have the photon torpedo launchers at the very front, and have a few more rooms, maybe. I don't know.
Or have that entire cutout be torpedo storage and have more torpedoes.
And that could be a gunboat, a torpedo gunboat.
Yeah, I mean, that is a classic thing to do, and Legacy's done that previously. We've seen it. It certainly gives it a very distinct vibe, but I've always seen that and thought, boy, those torpedoes need to clear perfectly, otherwise there might be trouble.
Yeah. But that's the thing with torpedoes. They shoot out straight, and then they do their thing.
They should. You know what I mean? It's small, but it's like an unnecessary fire hazard. But, explosion hazard.
It would almost be cool if there was like accelerator rods or something on each side, so that when it launched the torpedo, it actually like use plasma to like enhance the speed and strength of the torpedo. But yeah,
quirky. What do you think of that new bridge module?
It's very reminiscent of something else, and I can't quite place it. It's definitely got a TMP kind of vibe to it with the lighting around it. But when I first saw this pop up, I'm like, what does that remind me of? And I still haven't been able to place it while we've been talking. So
honestly, bug-like, just a little bit of extra bug-like to fit in with the wasp, just a little bit, But let's go look at some other views just to kind of see some variants. Here's also the classic Waspian view. So it is a double pylon leading down to a single wasp something. It's not a torpedo launcher, which it often is.
Which it should be. It's kind of got like a circular thing down there. It would be cool if there was like two photon things in it, and it could like rotate, so you could like tack something like
interesting.
You were behind.
So a photon turret, almost.
Yes, that would be pretty awesome. I don't know what it is. There's no windows in the struts. There's it could be some kind of course, a sensor or a communications thing, but it doesn't feel like that, you know?
Yeah, my assumption would be a specialist sensor array for if you're orbiting a planet. That thing is designed to sensor down or an asteroid, something very focused and dedicated.
Also, could just be a really beefy tractor beam emitter.
Oh, it could be. Yes, maybe.
Yeah, it could be, or it could wasp, or it could hornet. It could be. You said
all of those things.
Yes. I
mean, I kind of like the didn't go just torpedo launcher again because it's always felt with something this small. Like a bigger ships is different, like the Bill Krause newer Picard one. But for one that's small, that's such a risk point. It feels like. And of course, how many torpedoes could you really have in the magazine? Not a lot, so not the most useful.
It'd be cool if those struts were actually magazines that you could like reload the whole thing, and there's like 400 like photon torpedoes like lined up in a couple different rows.
I feel like if you shot them though, then the whole thing would go up in a giant fireball.
Oh yes, for sure.
I mean, you can't express a more dangerous target, but that also would be kind of cool.
Another thing with the scaling too, like I said, it feels small because of the size of those photon launchers on the front as well as the windows. But when you look at the phaser ball turrets, that just seems like a texture because that's not the right size at all. Those are way shrunk down.
They're in proportion to the saucer. If the saucer was 10 times as big or 3 times as big, yeah, I didn't even notice them, to be honest, when I did the prep for this. Hey, at least they put them in there. Good job, them. But yeah, the ship will obviously be bigger.
And the other thing that stands out is on the bottom of the nacelles, there seems to be like a curved down like emitter of some kind, which could be a weapon.
Yes. I would assume so. And since we know that the other Treks have had phasers tied into the warp cores, whatever, I mean, skip the middleman, shove them right next to the warp field. I don't know. Maybe.
They're plasma blasters or something. They're not quite phasers.
Yeah.
I don't know what they are. But yeah.
Well, I would definitely put, $5 on weapons. What else could they be, really? There's not what else you would put next to them. Now, what do you think about these new-ish nacelles? That obviously they're quite conny at the front, but not quite. Giantly cut out. I think clearly implied that, it's just warp coils be free, and that's the vibe. But what do you think to having that exposed and that open to the elements?
Well, I mean, later you just flip those upside down and change the front, and you got like the Excelsior ones. Honestly, it's kind of got that exposed, like, and it could be a progression towards that kind of nacelle design. It also mixed a little bit with, like, not specifically, but I mean, just look wise to be different, like the Oberth class. It's like a unique form of nacelle. So
it's a gentle gimmick.
Yes. Which just like it being different, just like the cutout for some reason.
I mean, negative space, thy name is Akyazi, name of the ship. Back view, though, I think that's a pretty nice view.
Very beefy impulse engine. Again, this shows the size. Like you see on the back of the bridge module, there's the airlock.
Oh, yeah. Well, that's the joke. Yes. You say beefy impulse engine, but it might be a normal size impulse engine. On a small ship.
Just looks beefy on the ship.
It looks beefy.
Has this I do like the pennants on the nacelles, though. I'm glad those are there.
Oh, that does help a lot, yeah. That bit of red. It's actually quite a nice view, really. I think it's quite good light in this. Does it help you work out what the ship is made for? It obviously doesn't need this, but there's no detailing of any kind on the back of the saucer. That's just blank. Could have been anything. Doesn't obviously need a shuttle bay, although it might be in the middle. But any more clues as to what this thing might be designed for?
Not specifically. As you said, I mean, a couple of windows in the back cutout would be nice. But it also feels like there are, on the side of the saucer there, that those are like work bee bays or shuttle bays. They seem a little small for shuttle bays.
Yeah, we've seen them before in Legacy as well. They like that kind of TMP.
Yeah. I mean, having the delta there and the caution marking stuff, but there doesn't feel like there's a door that's big enough for anything except for maybe work bees. Work bees. Maybe this is like I said, a construction or repair ship that's a big tractor emitter or something hanging off the bottom. I don't know.
It's tricky because I would not think that the necessity to have the 2 pylons connected to the stinger could be unused, as in if you were to make it a bit bigger and have like the tractor beam emitters across the entire B pylons, and you can have the thing warp in and then tractor so much debris as a single point. Why have it so removed from the ship? That's what I'm struggling with function-wise. What is that doing design necessity-wise to need? And such a distinct. It's not just a little bit down. It's not a secondary hull. Let's have it right away from the hull. Why?
Well, like I said, there are those emitter things on the bottom of the nacelles that kind of point downward.
Okay.
And the stinger as well as down. So could it be that they triangulate some kind of beam in front of the ship that could do something?
Okay, that's interesting. Okay.
It's weird, the placements of those things on the nacelles that kind of point downward, right?
And maybe the exposed coils speak to the need to have the incredibly, cold of space to keep them cool to do this feature. It's interesting. That's actually quite interesting. But I do quite like this view, and I quite like the scale. I mean, it is tiny, but you've still got quite a lot of space in the saucer.
Next view, though, I almost would have preferred for that cutout, instead of photon torpedo launchers, there to be a shuttle bay door, and to have photon torpedo launchers on the side of the saucer on the top, like it's facing sideways, much like the Andar class has sideways facing ones. But yeah,
I could have seen, if you're going for some sort of repair construction thing, this is obviously a bit more of the beaten path. You could have that cut out be an auxiliary craft that detached and was dedicated like high-end repair bay that could. So this is small enough to be in atmosphere. This thing could maybe stay above the base, use a giant tractor beam or shield generator to do stuff, then a giant repair basically room drops down, etc.
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah,
a bit more radical, of course, but but not a bad view. I think we've seen a few of these ships where the proportions feel off, and I commend them for that not being the case here. I think it feels relatively in sync with itself. As weird as it is, it feels in sync.
But the front view here, you see those nacelles, and then you said they are Constitution or refit-like, and they are, but they're different enough, especially at the front. And yes, they obviously are scaled down quite a bit. So I like that they made that change instead of just literally shrinking down. I'm glad they changed the front instead of having the 2 slits to have that one black area.
Would this thing benefit from a secondary hull?
I think most ships would. Yeah.
Answer given. Yeah, I just wanted to show the front view because this is what you wouldn't normally see in this sort of format. But let's do some... Oh, close-up. I forgot about this one. Right. So that's the detail we have. Which, in fairness, is very unfair to get this close to a model that you're meant to play in a game at, 720p in 2006. So it ain't designed for that.
Well, that's the thing, though. When people design ships, generally they design things like this to have a specific function. I haven't done any research on this ship or looked it up prior to this video, so I don't know if that's the case. But they would have put the detail in there for a particular reason, right?
Unless they were told to finish the model by Thursday because the game's shipping on Friday. Or you know what I mean? It's both generic enough, but also I'm glad there's something. Having a weird grille is certainly a bold choice at the top. Is that almost a floor detail from the bridge?
Well, that could be reminiscent of its design function. Like, it almost looks like a communicator antenna grid.
Okay,
I wonder if it is a communications type array, and that's kind of like a hint as to what its purpose is. I don't know.
Yeah, a hyper long range or signal boosting comm relay. I mean, there is a certain dish feel to it, not a front facing, but a side facing dish, is how my brain would see it. There's a little bit there. No, interesting.
Precision tight beam communications array. I'm making stuff up on the fly.
I could go with it. But speaking of the fly, this is a back aft view. And look, aft photo torpedo launchers. Which I believe I did the shot just because you could never see them in previous shots. So there they are.
Okay, I didn't know those were there.
Yeah.
And again, you got to clear through the pylons. Not a problem, really. But
it's cool to see them, though. That's a nice attention to detail because it's always going to be hidden by the ship. So only in certain angles you ever see that. But they did them. So congrats for that attention to detail. But let's do some orthographics, which obviously are without perspective shifting, top, bottom, side, all the jazz. And see it as we often say, it stops them from hiding the demons, and ships can often fall apart from this. So, top and bottom, I'll admit, not exactly what I thought the proportions were. It's a little bit different to how I thought. What do you think?
Yeah, it is a little bit different. However, I do like the look of it. I just want to know the reasons for the cutouts, and yeah.
I think that top, well, the pylons is actually the roll bar for the Reliant, basically. Like close enough. They don't look. No, they no longer look like pylons to me. I knew they were curved, but now they've got that vibe to me, which is a fair, and they are another version of pylon. But it gives it this curved feel. But now I'm seeing it's like, oh, okay, I get the rationale there.
Yeah, it feels more Reliant like this view.
I wasn't quite expecting those angles of the cutouts either, in the hull, and also the front cutout to be so angular. I thought it would be more straight. It's consistent with itself, but it's not very NX era half saucer. It's its own unique cutoutness.
And there's so much wasted space with the way they cut it out, though. Like, you could change the angles of those and get a lot more internal volume.
Or you could do a full saucer. I mean, there's obviously a reason. Although I commend them, I'll take back slightly my initial thought about the clearing of the front torpedo launchers. No, there's a lot more clearing, so okay, I take that back.
Yeah, if you thought they were more straight, those cutouts, then I can see why you'd say that, yeah.
I do like it, though. It's a bit odd, but of course it is, right? But I do actually quite like it. Now, the next view...
side view is interesting. It does feel, as you said, a little flimsy, but the addition of that bottom thing, the stinger, it kind of beefs it back up. Like, if that wasn't there, you'd be like, oh, that just looks way too slender, right? This kind of pulls it I don't know.
Again, not what I thought dimensionality was going to be like. The nacelles are so... I was going to say refined. They're not. They're just thin. But it is in proportion. But this, to me, feels like, right, we only have 1 month to build a ship. And we've got to do these many things. We've sort of hit these criterion, but we have to do these other things. So this is an efficiency-based ship where we need to just get it out there. But I'm intrigued by the fact that the pontoons, as it were, clearly one corridor, right? They're that small. They're a corridor, which means that the source is only 3 decks and a bit of headroom. Very small, very very small.
Yeah, I can see the saucer being 4, maybe 5 decks pushing it, but
the bridge dome, in fairness, yeah. Now I've said that bridge dome is really big for the relative. So it's definitely a bridge complex. I mean, if that's not just the bridge, because otherwise that'd be a huge bridge. It's probably a multi-room arrangement or hull. One bit of armor, one bit of bulked up armor for the ship.
Yeah, this could be a fleet coordination ship, and that's why it's got that sensor thing on the bottom. I don't know.
Well, that's the thing. Not every ship has aft torpedo launchers. The Enterprise refit doesn't, and the Reliant only does as a roll bar, which of course only that version has. Most versions of Reliant don't have that roll bar. So to have forward and aft torpedo launchers is actually an aggressive choice. So would lean towards some sort of more tactical thing or fast reaction, as you said. I'm pretty shocked at the phasers in the pylons or the nacelles are so touching the saucer. They're not, because of course they're differently placed, but I did not think they'd be that low down.
Oh yeah, from the front view, you mean? Yeah. Like I said, though, the way they're angled, when you look at the side view, they're definitely, if they fired straight, they would clear the saucer, no problem. But
and it is the same angle as the bottom piece, which is definitely pointed down. I mean, they are definitely linked or artistically linked because the designer just thought, no, angle.
Well, that makes me think that they do fire and triangulate on a single point, and that creates something.
Yeah.
But it doesn't have a weapons vibe to it, necessarily. Like, you wouldn't think that from a Federation ship.
If it didn't have phaser ball turrets at all, maybe you could extrapolate they had a unique phaser system. Well,
like a phaser cannon or something that converged. I don't know.
But yeah, very clearly intentional / very clearly unintentionally art design driven which now is intentional, says us.
Yeah, it feels different just for the sake of being different. But a lot of the ships of the era were, going back to even FASA.
Yeah. But it's not a kit bash. But it's not a kit bash.
Well, FASA was kit bashing and then cutting pieces out of saucers so it didn't look like a kit bash. And that's why you got cutouts and stuff. So
yes. I mean, is there any verbatim pieces? Or is that just the torpedo launchers?
The nacelles are close. Like, they definitely look like upside down refit ones that they just changed some details on and then hacked away a bit. I mean, the only verbatim thing is the torpedo launchers and the impulse engine. Everything else has been changed, yeah.
But let's end on the final picture, which, again, suddenly feels way more detailed. This is more a view I guess you're meant to see, but... Bomb, there you go. Yeah, not exactly what I thought it was going to be as a ship. Do you like it more or less than when we started?
I've always liked it.
Yeah.
I like it a little bit more now, I think, just looking at the details in it.
Yeah. Me too.
Although, one thing I am noticing right quick before we end out, even though it is a smaller ship with a larger bridge module, that impulse crystal is super, super reduced then. Because you think about the impulse crystal and the size of it on the refit. But
where it's the efficiency grade. It's like a laptop processor compared to desktop. Or a phone chip. It's like, it does almost the same thing, just smaller. Almost? Yeah, almost.
Sure, yeah.
Sure. No, yeah, I like it. This, like I said, it's been a famous design for a long time. It's obviously Wasp inspired, or who knows where the derivation from the variants came. Maybe at some point, Stuart, we should do a comparison between this and the Dudastat from Picard. See how generations have changed quite a lot is the answer, but could be interesting. Just for that'd be more for me the orthographic views of like proportion, how they've chosen to address the proportion to each other. I think that'd be quite interesting because it does feel, like I said, quite a balanced ship. This one, I don't know how it'd feel in motion. Odd but good would be my guess.
I would think that would feel pretty cool in motion, honestly.
Although it could be like the NX refit, which I've done a few animations on, and almost no angle you see the secondary hull because it's so close to the hull and the source is so bold. So for this, you wouldn't even feel necessarily the full effect of the sting until certain views or just a giant turn. So it'll be very interesting. But yeah, I like it, and good job for Legacy for continuing to do more interesting ships.
So there you go, guys. This Starfleet's Akyazi. That's probably
it, yeah. I hope so.
Should have started with that.
It was a journey.
This is the Akyazi.
Perfect.
Perfect. All right. Anyway, guys, put your comments down below if you know the specific reason for this ship, its purpose. Yeah. If anything we discussed, kind of sparked any imagination in you guys, let us know in the comment section or just correct us because we're here to learn too. So, yeah, comment section down below. Make sure you're subscribed to the channel and hit that like button and also the notification icon so you don't miss any content because we do a lot of content like this and lives and other things. So, do the things.
And if you want to support what we do here, all the downtime on Trekyards, then you can via super chatting on any live super thanks on any video, including this one. Or join the channel via the join button on YouTube, or the Patreon is also monthly, both monthly. Or one-time donation at the PayPal, trekyards@hotmail.com, or just keep watching what we do. And comment. Those things do help the algorithm, so help us if you can.
Mm-hmm. That's right. So until next time, he's Commander Cock.
He's got a Foley.
Bye, everybody.
Bye, guys.